What's up, Pod Pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you are listening to Podcasting Business School. It's a show where I teach podcasters how to love their podcast like a hobby and build it like a business. This is a podcast audit special edition here. Got my pod pal Lori from the Encore Entrepreneur Podcast, and we're going to dive in and coach her up a little bit about some techniques to help with her podcasting adventures. Lori, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam. I'm excited. I'm excited and just a skosh nervous, but I'm excited.
Oh, whatever. You and I have hung out before.
We have.
We're old pod pals here. So let's set a goal for our session today. So let's say you and I are meeting up 6 months from today, and you've experienced great growth with your brand and with your show. Can you describe what that might look like?
Yeah. I would say I want to 10x my downloads, but since they're so small, I want to 1000x my downloads and basically just grow my audience and look at a different way to use my podcast to monetize my business.
Okay. So let's maybe go one level deeper on that goal then. So with getting more people, is the real goal to start bringing in clients? Is that like ultimate goal of like, do you want to see, is the main goal to see money start to happen, like client relationships starting to be built within that growth? Is that,
I would love to. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So honestly, when we talk about like client acquisition, maybe we may angle our goal towards that versus like we could 1000x your growth, but it may not be ideal listeners as far as like ideal client potential. So if we can do both, then we're going to be tearing it up here. If we can 1000x our growth within an ideal listenership base, that's the sweet spot. So, okay, cool. That's very helpful.
And coming where I came from why I started my podcast, which was to elevate my expertise and kind of get myself visible. That's where the audience growth comes in. But now since I'm loving doing the podcast, I want to continue it. I would like to monetize it. So there's that dual, and I'm having a hard time going from one to the other.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I think we can sort that out. Yeah. And that's a valid roadblock. There's a lot of us are kind of new at this whole having a podcasting empire thing, and how to make it work and how to make it work for our business and how to make it work for our audience. So I feel like you're in a very normal space here of like, what's my next best move right now? So let's kind of sort it out a little bit.
Okay.
When we talk client acquisition, I know this is one of the things you're interested in, so I want to bring this up first. One of our strongest moves we can make is expert positioning with this type of an episode, with this coaching style episode. Just knowing you, I think you would perform very well in this environment, kind of a thinking on my feet, just, throw an idea or a problem at me and I'll help solve it live and kind of show off doing what I do. So I love doing these episodes because the prep is so little. Like you fill out information, I read through it. I have a general idea like, okay, I think this is where it might go, but let's get in there and see what happens and then think on my feet and produce content. So how do you feel about bringing this type of content into your brand?
Yeah, I love the idea. And I've, having been listening to some of your episodes and listening to what you say about that, I thought it really makes sense for me to do that. And it does two things. Not only does it have all the benefit of doing the hot seat coaching, but it also gives me more solo episodes, kind of, sort of like to show my, because I'm doing 50-50 right now. And I know you say to do 1/3 and 2/3. So that would be another way to pull some clients in and I think I would enjoy that. It would be fun.
Let's unpack this idea a little bit. I'm going to sort through what this might look like. So first thing I need to know is like, who is your ideal client avatar? Like, who are we really trying to attract in that says, I want to hire Lori?
Yeah. My ideal avatar is a business owner over the age of 50. They have probably left a corporate job. Maybe they've been downsized. There could be any number of reasons they leave a corporate job. And in today's world, it could be anything. And they've started building their own business. Maybe it's the business of their dreams that they wanted to do, or maybe it's, in my case, it was, I really have no other choice because nobody will hire me. And I wasn't ready to retire. So there's a lot of reasons for that. And I am very good at explaining marketing and explaining business and talking to them about plans that they can do. And so that's what I've been doing with my day job and my business is I have a website design agency, and we talk to them about marketing and messaging and ideal client just like this in terms that they can understand. And we look at technology that they're comfortable with, because technology for a lot of those late Gen Xers, late early Gen Xers and late baby boomers are, is technology they have to have, and they're not comfortable with it.
Okay. So based off of that, would you say, I'm kind of honing in on some of the language
Mm-hmm.
that you used. Would you say that the ideal client is still in a corporate job thinking about exiting? They've already made the leap.
They've already exited. They've probably been in business 3 to 5 years, and
Okay.
they're figuring out that they can't do it themselves.
Okay. Got it. So when we look at the reason I asked that, when we look at doing a coaching style episode, we want to have like a very specific purpose of the episode. So what we would want to avoid is like a first time business startup audit.
Right.
They've already started. So this is going to be
Right.
almost like a revamp or a boost type of session, or like we're problem solving, fixing, and optimizing.
Exactly.
So that's what you would focus on with this type of an episode. But you want it to marry what you do with your actual services. Like,
Yes.
okay, this is the appetizer to your service. So I mean, when people hire me for consulting, this is a lot of what we do. I go, okay, what's the issue? Okay, here's my ideas. Then when we do consulting, it's like 90 days of us doing this together. And there's a lot more that can be done than 30 minutes. But so we want to kind of create that environment where you're bringing somebody on. They have exited corporate. They have launched their business, their new adventure, but now they realize they need help. They listen to a podcast and on entrepreneurship, and they try to do it themselves, and now they realize they need to tag somebody in. So we're going to brand this with that in mind and go, okay, this is like an online business boost audit, or something where we're like going to the next level. You've launched, now let's optimize.
You're stuck. Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah.
It's getting your online business, or is it online businesses only, or is this any sort of business?
It could be any sort of business.
Okay. So, so like getting unstuck in your new business journey that you've exited corporate, and you'd have to come up with some language around that really describes that. But I think that's great. That's very specific. I think that's going to call the right people in to do this. So that's one checkbox that we can check. The next checkbox, and we don't have to definitively check one or the other, we may experiment with both, is do we want the person sitting in that guest seat to be somebody that is a potential client or has already been a client and you've been able to help them? So is this a coaching style episode, or is this a success story episode? So those are two sides of the equation. I'd actually encourage you to try a little bit of both. But any thoughts on those two scenarios?
I do like them both, and I think there is a way to pull it, because I do a weekly. So if I were to do the coaching episodes, it would show my skill as a coach, which I don't highlight very much. And that would be what I would like to prioritize first. And then bringing the success stories, because those I can actually bring those in on my regular interviews, which I have done before, brought those in as regular interviews and not a coaching session or coaching audit.
Perfect. And they can kind of serve the same purpose. A lot of times when people are just getting started with the coaching style episode, I'm like, hey, if you've already had clients, it may be a tiny bit easier to kind of break the ice and do a success story, and do it to where it's like you talk about why they hired you, what you're able to accomplish together. You kind of unpack it as the coaching perspective. They unpack it as the person going through a perspective. Then maybe you do a little coaching, go, okay, what's our next goal? And let's set a goal. Let's set up a plan around that. So it still involves a lot of coaching, and it'll show off what you can do as well. So cool. So I feel like, a nice little mix of both will definitely be great content. Anytime you can get your ideal listener avatar onto your show and create content together, it's a great idea. So we want that in any way, shape, or form. Okay. So with this, the real key thing with this concept is that it's an open and honest value add. Like you're just coming on here. Like when you signed up and when we sign off, at no point in time am I going, all right, Lori, let's talk about you hiring me. Like it's not like it's not like a sneak attack webinar thing or anything like that. It's just, it's building relationships. It's adding value. Now, a lot of people that sit in that guest seat end up hiring me for some reason down the road. Like that happens a lot, but I don't ask for it. It's just, I just know that if I plant this seed, show off, add value, if there comes a situation that that I solve, I'm top of mind for that solution. So it is what it is, and you'll start to see people sign up and kind of springboard into the realm of becoming a client, which is great. But really, I challenge my clients. I set a high mark. I go, get 25 of these types of episodes in your RSS feed and watch what happens. Like this, it may not happen after 1 or 5 or 10.
Right.
Get 25, and then new person finds your show. Let's call him Bob. Bob finds your show and he starts to binge listen, and he hears you coach and coach and coach and coach. Then he signs up for one of these. He sits in that guest chair. He is very likely to hire you because of all that expert positioning that he's gone through in your show. Is that making sense so far?
Absolutely.
Okay. So
love it.
With this concept, I, again, would just start to kind of mix it into your regular routine, start putting a feeler out there, social media, email list, let people know what it's about, and also letting them know like, hey, as a bonus, you get to shout out your website or your brand at the end on my podcast. So it's kind of like that carrot out there dangling, like, hey, it's a little bonus for you. It's going to get in front of my audience as we kind of work through what I'd recommend for your business. So that's a nice little bonus to draw in that person. And then, let's start getting the word out on these. And then as you release them, I would do an intro and an outro that's different than your regular intro and outro, and just advertise what it is and how to sign up for one. So like as you listen to this, if you want to sign up for the blah, blah, blah audit episode, here's where you go. Hit the link in the show notes or go to this website and get on my calendar. So it's that simple. It'll take a little bit while to build up steam on this, but once you start getting these out there, it's complete magic. It's one of the best content creation decisions I've ever made with my brand. So any questions on that?
Yeah. Well, just a comment, and following what you do and just using yours as the template, you give us everything that we need. So, and that's one thing I've noticed, binge listening in preparation for today, kind of binge listening to your other coaching episodes. It's like everything follows the template and makes it a no-brainer almost to do it. So yeah, great idea. I putting the pieces of it together is fabulous.
Okay, cool. So I feel good about that. And then we need to look at, okay, we're going to have this expert positioning template and system running. It's in place. Let's get the numbers up. Let's ramp up our overall audience exposure within the right type of audience. So when we look at the podcast growth pie chart, in my opinion, 50% of that is what we call organic discoverability. That's like all the SEO type stuff. And then the other 50% is what I call effort-based marketing. So there's 3 components of that whole side of the pie chart, which is social media marketing and email marketing, guesting on other people's shows, and paid advertising. So from a organic discoverability standpoint, I feel like you got a nice keyword in the name of your show with the word entrepreneur in there. The Encore entrepreneur. I feel like I get what that's about for sure. Is that the full title? Like on the title line, that's what it says.
The full title line is the Encore Entrepreneur Podcast, but the tagline is for those of us who weren't born with smartphones in our hands.
Okay. So one thing to consider would be an actual title extension, not necessarily a subtitle, but going, so on the title line where your host, it would be the Encore Entrepreneur : I love shouting out like age identifying, Margaret, like millennial, Gen X, like you're throwing that stuff out there because people search that on podcast. They want to find like business for entrepreneurship for millennials, business or an entrepreneurship for Gen Xers. So maybe it's like business advice for and then name some age groups
Right.
or other keywords, because that will all help with the search if it's on the title line. And then you don't have to use that anywhere in your branding or
Right.
marketing at all. But it's just like a fishing line in the water with all these extra keywords and search terms in the actual title line of the show.
Yeah.
Any
Good
questions
idea.
about
Yeah.
that?
Nope. Nope. I
But I
figured
would,
you were gonna tweak that one, so that's
yeah.
good.
I mean, I would highly, highly recommend putting the word business in there, because that's a great keyword, because people will put business, especially business tips for,
Mhm.
and then we name Gen X, late baby boomer, and because that's what you're describing in the
Yeah.
in the in
Yeah.
the tag and the tagline, but the tagline isn't keyword optimized. And you can still use that
Right.
as a tagline, 100%. It's cool. But on that title line, we're looking for those keywords for sure. So if we can get
Yeah.
business and then some identifying terms with the age groups, I think that's going to be on the money. Cool.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah.
Um, then we look at the other side of the equation with effort-based marketing. I know you're kicking things up on social media. Describe, like, a new episode goes live. How are we promoting it?
Basically just I send a post to my Facebook. I've been playing around with video.ai,
Mhm.
and when I do it, it's getting results. My issue is working on a process to get it done. I want to do all this stuff, but it's like as I can, I'll pull in, it's spot social media. It's catch as catch can. So that's probably more of my issue, is just getting a system and a way to do it. Cause I know you talk about the 72 hours. Like, oh, if I get, I feel like I'm doing well if I get it the week.
Yeah.
So it's just making the decision and making a more concentrated effort to do it in that
Yeah.
time frame.
Well, I think something that helps me with that is I've got a rhythm within my work week. So on Tuesdays,
Yeah.
that's when I do my new content creation, and I put my episodes together. So like today, I recorded my solo episode for 2 weeks from today, and then I did as soon as it helps for me. It helps me because I do it all right then and there. So I go, okay, I just recorded it. I edit it. Here's the intro. Here's the outro, show notes. And then I do the same thing for my podcast audit episode. So I'll grab the next one in line and I'll put the intro and outro. So I've got the audio all done.
Yeah.
Then I'll stick them into video AI and I'll do my social media assets
Right.
right then and there. It's all top of mind. I remember, like, okay, I said this there. That's a good
Right.
clip. And I can just move through it a lot quicker. And I've got 2 to 3 assets good to go, everything edited, produced, loaded 2 weeks in advance. And then all I have to do is post it once it's live. I'm not going, oh, it's live today, let me figure out what I'm going to post on social media. You know what I'm
That's my
saying?
system. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think just finding that time in your schedule first to get ahead, having your content out there ahead of time, so you have that buffer. That's an important thing. But then getting those marketing assets, even if it's just one, and you go, okay, I'm going to use video AI and get one face to camera 60-second clip. And I'm just going to do that as soon as I'm going to record it. And then I'm going to put it in there, get my clip, save it. And that way it's good to go. I know that when the episode goes live,
Yeah.
I can post that sucker and it's good
Yeah.
to go.
I think listening to you, that's the biggest mistake I make is I record my episodes, because I record my guest interview, and then I record the follow-up. I bulk record them for the month. And I'm on a 2.5 month lead time. And so then I'll delay instead of doing it right then and there. And that's, I hear from you, that's key. And that's doing immediately, I think, will be a big help for me. It's just block out the time to go
Yeah.
ahead and do them. And then they're done and they're ready. And I'm not panicking, 2 hours before it goes live.
Yeah. Yeah. And like finding, again, the sweet spot of that lead time. Like I used to do with my health show, I did a month out like that. And I didn't like it because just personally, I mean, I know a lot of people that just do really, really well with that, but I didn't like it personally because I felt like there was too much time between the time that I recorded it and the time that I needed to promote it. I had kind of forgot what I said or whatever. And I was trying to create social media assets. And I was like, I don't really remember what I was talking about here. This is a month ago. And I've had several conversations since then. So for me, the 2 week worked out really, really good to where I can still remember what it was about. I just recorded a couple weeks ago, and I don't know. So that was a nice little sweet spot. But I'm still ahead. I'm not just like grinding away each week going, I got to get an episode out because it's due tomorrow. So that was a sweet spot for me. So that's just something to consider,
Yeah.
you know. And if you are going to batch record a month at a time, it could get pretty cumbersome to do all the social media right then as well. But maybe you go week 1 is batch audio, week 2 is batch social media. And that way you're still only doing 2 weeks out of the 4 or 5 for the month. And that's something to consider. Because doing it all in one, like I wouldn't enjoy that personally. I'd be like, oh, it would take me the rest of the month to recover from like the brain fog of doing all that social media. So, and leverage AI. That's one of the great innovations for podcasters is like stuff like video AI or Opus AI. And you can just pop a clip in there and it spits out 5 or 10 great 60-second videos and whatever else you need. And it's good to go. So,
that and a really good VA who I finally found. So
yes,
I'm excited about that. So that will help a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could do something where let's create a little bit of workflow here. Like you go, okay, I just recorded this episode. You make a few notes. You're like at minute 5 to 8, it got really good. Okay. VA, put that into script and take that chunk out, throw it in Opus or video AI and get 2 to 3 clips out of that.
Yeah.
Like making little notes, and then they go at it and that way they're able to do that for you. Just to kind of what I found with delegating to VAs with like social media clips and having them optimize with AI, we can really save us a lot of money and time where we just give them a little like, okay, this minute to this minute and let them hone in on that. That's going to save everybody a lot of time and money. So that'll be really efficient for them. That's a quick note as you go through, make notes. Okay, send that to VA person, and then they go and do the rest of it. And that way they've got those assets ready to go. So then I feel very confident if you're going to delegate that part to the VA,
right?
You can make notes, send it away same day, and we're good for the month.
Yeah. And you also just gave me a good tip because when I've been using video AI, I upload the whole video. And you just said, pick out the part. And I'm like, oh, because I was trying to, then in the system of getting this process done, how am I going to let her know? I still have to go back and figure out which videos for her to put up. But if I give her just that piece, that's an excellent suggestion. And it's a simple one that I hadn't thought of.
Well, and it doesn't have to be the exact 60-second clip, but it can be like the first 10 minutes of the episode was just fire. Let's clip that out. And then you can throw that into the AI and let it sort things out and let them kind of work with that. But just chunking it down, if it's a 60-minute episode, if they don't have to go through and listen to it all, and then we're leaving it up to them to decide what the hot button stuff is. And, sometimes they do great at that, but a lot of times they don't because they're not us. And
but it's there. It's up.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like that idea quite a bit. And with video AI, I've never had to pay for it by using this technique because they give you 75 minutes for free every single month. So I chunk out the best 5 to 7 minutes per week.
Good point.
And I'm good. I don't have to spend any money on their service. So shout out to them. They'll hate that I put that out there.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm paying for it. That's a great idea.
Yeah. I'm frugal. I am the most frugal pod pal you've ever had. So I enjoy, even if it's like a $20 thing, like I'm like sticking it to the man, not paying $20 for that, and find my little workarounds. But yeah, if you're running slow on time, or if you have shorter episodes, if you're doing 15-minute, 20-minute episodes, go ahead and load the whole thing. But if they're a little bit longer and you know exactly what the good stuff is, chunk it out, throw that in there and send it to your VA to deal with the rest. And I think you could be really efficient with this.
Yeah. So, just adding those tiny little things that you've talked about that are big time savers, which is for me, that's what it ends up being is time. I think that's going to help a lot with getting the podcast more visible.
Yeah.
Social media and stuff.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Lori, because I feel like so many podcasters unnecessarily burn out because of the stress of time management. They're not, especially if they come, your ideal avatar, somebody comes from corporate, very structured, but other people are kind of handling the structure into online entrepreneurship or brick and mortar business, wild, wild west. I got to pay my own paychecks. I hold my feet to the fire, and like, it's a hard thing to do. So if
Yeah.
we can get you in a position where you've got these structures and these systems in place, and you're like, okay, I'm able to move efficiently here, and I'm able to delegate effectively. Now we've got a rhythm and a routine, and it's not like I must do everything and I must do it all now, all at once, and
Right.
last minute.
Yeah, because I work better if there is this is where everything goes. I don't have to think about what I have to do next because I have the system. Then I'll do it. But it's getting the system and getting it in place that will really be helpful. And like I said, some of these suggestions that you've made are like, oh, that's a missing piece. And what I was trying to figure out was the system.
Yep.
So yeah. Very,
it's
very
like one of my favorite quotes is from a content creator named Jocko Willink, former Navy SEAL. And let me see for those of you that have ever heard Jocko speak, I do a great Jocko impersonation. So I'm going to do that as I quote him. Discipline equals freedom. He's very serious. He's very serious. So discipline equals freedom. That's Jocko. But yeah, discipline equals freedom. So if we are disciplined enough to have a system in place, it allows us to be free to be creative and more effective and efficient in the parts of our business that require that.
Right.
Like content creation, we can't effectively create great content and think on our feet and do all this stuff if we're stressed out about doing the other million things that we think we should be doing in that moment, and
exactly.
all that it eats away. So yes, I think
good quote.
Well, yes, thank you. So I feel like between the type of content with coaching and success story style episodes that, to kind of go full circle here, that's going to level up expert positioning, make a few small tweaks with the title extension to pull in more of the ideal listener avatar, and then we get our workflows and our systems down to have you ahead, and you're able to more effectively promote your new episodes. Because a lot of that initial promotion, it's just keeping our current listeners listening. And that's an important part of the equation.
Right.
Like, it's not just about new listenership. So we get somebody, we want to give them reasons to keep listening. And that's the way I view social media. Is like, let's keep giving them, ideas and reasons why they need to keep listening to my show via social media. So I think that mix that we put together in the pot, we stir it up, and some good things are going to come out of that, Lori. So can't wait to see what you do. I want to make sure that we save a little bit of time for you to shout out your show and your brand and your website. Where do people need to go if they want to connect with you?
Sure. My podcast is called the Encore Entrepreneur Podcast, business strategies for Gen X and baby boomers for uplifting their business, up-leveling their business. We'll figure that one out, but it's close. Trying to pull it in there. You can reach me at lorilyons.me and the Encore Entrepreneur Podcast.com.
All right. And her last name is spelled Lyons, Lori Lyons.
Yes.
So go and support Lori, Pod Pals. She's going to be cooking on some new ideas for her brand. If you're an ideal listener avatar, go check out her show. Support everybody on here. And if you all want to come on the show and do a podcast audit, my summer schedule is filling on up. So make sure that you hop on the calendar. You can just go to podcastingbusiness.school. Click on the freebie button, and there's a few things there you may want to partake in. One of them is the podcast audit. So dive on in and come on the show. We can do a little leveling up of your show. And with that, Pod Pals, I'm going to sign off and send you out into the world, wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We'll see you next time.